Okay, I'm back today and was going to show you some more tips for container gardening. These are, if you'll notice these are produce crates. I used to work at a local supermarket and we would get stuff like corn and things like that in these produce crates. And what they are is they're just wood, real simple wood crates that have a top on them. These are, of course, dirty and I haven't cleaned them up for this year. These were been sit out since last year. But you can take these, if I can get over here and show you, you can take these, and what I do is just take the top of it off, and you can put a little liner, some kind of liner in there, and cut slits for water drainage, and you can use these for planting stuff in. This is another cheap recycle tip for your garden. And let's walk over here, and I'm going to show you something else that I use. If you can, I don't know if you can see these. Let me back up a little bit. If you can see these, zoom in a little closer. This is, let's do it over here. If you can see that, these were actually, I believe they were originally used as some type of like comic book holder. And they were on a spindle and spun. And I got these right here. In my last video I had mentioned about having some old shop vacs and using them to collect rainwater, and I just wanted to show you guys a picture of what I'm talking about. You can see actually these are full of ice because I forgot to turn them over this season, so the water is collected in them and they've got ice in them. But you can use those to collect your rainwater in to reuse to water your plants in your pots. Also, coincidentally, you can also use these to plant in. All you have to do is take them and drill some holes in the sides for drainage, and they make great huge planters. I don't know if you guys can see this real good, but this right here is a huge fire ant mound. And I'm not sure about up north, but I know in the south these are a pest that we have to deal with year-round, even in the wintertime. Normally in the spring and summer they're a lot worse, and sometimes these mounds can get really huge. I don't know if you can compare it to the size of that brick block right there, but they're pretty big. So I just wanted to show you guys that. That's one of the garden pests that we have to deal with every year. I also wanted to show you something in my last video. I talked about tires, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. You can use old tires to grow potatoes in, and closer to spring, if I decide to do it this year, I'll make a video showing you actually how to do it. But what you do is you start with one level and you fill it with soil, and you plant your potatoes, your seed potatoes in it, and then as the plants start to grow, you add another layer of tire and more soil, and you do that up until the plants get big enough to where they're ready to harvest. And then when you go to harvest them, all you got to do is just remove each tire level and your potatoes just fall right out. So there's no digging or anything like that. So that is a really great tip and a really easy way to grow potatoes. This is another good idea. This is a tip that I learned a couple of years ago, especially for those of you who plant early in the spring. I know here in the south the last couple of years we have had planted early in the spring, and then we've had some late frosts that have wiped out a lot of our early plants. And one thing I do is I keep a lot of jars on hand. Now of course this is kind of a big pickle jar, and usually for your early stuff, better sizes are like just like mayonnaise jars and jelly jars and things like that. But what you do is, if you're going to have an early frost and you know about it the day before, you can take your jars and of course take the top off, and then you just lay them down. Whoops. Set them over the plant upside down so that your plant is inside the jar, and that will protect your plant from the frost coming in. And inadvertently you can also cover it with another layer of plastic if it's going to be a real hard frost. So that's a tip. You might want to keep some extra jars, just old jars on hand, to cover your plants up for that purpose. I think probably everybody knows what this is. This is just a standard watering can, but this is kind of a must-have if you're going to do container gardening outside. This one is plastic. I would advise, if you're going to have these, and especially if you're going to store them somewhere like on a patio or something like that where they're going to be a little weathered, get the metal cans, not the plastic kind, because the problem that I have found is that the bottoms on the plastic tend to wear out pretty quick, and they'll bust and they'll start to crack, and they won't be any good. So if you get the metal kind, spend a little bit more money and get the metal kind, they'll last you a whole lot longer.